Andy Farrell has named a pretty predictable squad for the November internationals. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. Not too many surprises in Andy Farrell's squad. He's picked 34 players. We've got one uncapped player, and we have 2 players retained from the squad that Paul O'Connell picked over the summer while Farrell was away with the Lions. So we'll have a look down through the squad. We'll have a chat about kind of the makeup of the squad, and then we talk about some of the players, still like in the Irish system, but not in the squad as well. We're not going to touch on them all. I'm sure there are going to be big names that I miss out on because, when you're just talking off the top of your head, you're not going to remember everybody. But let's start with the forwards. So we've got Thomas Ahern from Munster, Ryan Bird, Leinster, Finlay Bealham, Connacht, Tadhg Byrne, Munster, Jack Boyle, Leinster, Thomas Clarkson, Leinster, Jack Conan, Leinster, Caelan Doris, Leinster, he's the captain, Tadhg Furlong, Leinster, Ian Henderson, Ulster, Ronan Kelleher, Leinster, Gus McCarthy, Leinster, Paddy McCarthy, Leinster, and Paddy McCarthy, the one uncapped player in the squad, Andrew Porter, Leinster, Cian Prendergast, Connacht, James Ryan, Leinster, Dan Sheehan, Leinster, Nick Timney, Ulster, and Josh van der Fleer, Leinster. So a lot of experience in there. And then among that, we've got like Thomas Ahern, who made his debut over the summer, got 2 caps, Jack Boyle with 4, Thomas Clarkson with 8. We have Gus McCarthy with 6, Paddy McCarthy uncapped, as I said, Cian Prendergast with 5, and Nick Timney with 4. So those are all the players with, less than 10 caps. And then the rest of the players, are up there 30, 40, all the way up to, 70, 80 caps as well. So a lot of experience in the squad. In terms of getting that blend between bringing players through and keeping a competitive squad, I think it's decent. But my worry is that we've had a lot of years now where Ireland have basically just been very kind of short-term thinking. Let's win the next few games kind of thing. And we're seeing players maybe who are beginning to come in now that maybe should have come in a while ago. And there's other players who are in the system who, maybe thinking that they, when's their turn going to come as well. And if we have a look at some of the players who are not in the squad at the minute, let's start with Munster. So you got Michael Milne, who moved away from Leinster to get more, game time and starting loose head at Munster. But, he's now behind 3 Leinster loose heads in the pecking order for Ireland. So, he's been in decent form. Got a couple of tries there at the weekend as well against Edinburgh. You got Diarmuid Byrne in that same front row alongside him, who's a decent option at the hooker. Ollie Yeager, who we've been very impressed with over the last couple of seasons as well. So, it's not like there aren't other options out there. And, my hope is that these guys are, kept involved somehow, whether that's having, special training camps or wherever. But having that connection there, I think, is going to be important because, and it's not just these guys, we're going to go through more names as well, but having these guys involved, because Ireland always seems to do the same thing, right? We pick very squads of very little changes, and then we get into World Cups. We have a bit of an injury crisis. We go into quarterfinal, and then players who don't have the experience that they should have at the highest level don't deliver for us. And, that's my worry. I'd like to see us, take more of a Springbok type view on things and say, listen, let's churn through a lot more players and get them in there and see what they're like, and then, be left with, rather than, a squad of like with 34 players in this squad, but let's have like a panel of 50 players that we feel like could easily be in the squad and have been there, done that for us before. So, I guess it's just different ways of thinking of things. But, also at Munster, you got Finian Wycherley, who in the second row had a decent start to the season. Jack O'Donoghue, who's been very good over the last couple of seasons. Ruan Quinn, who, young player coming through, really could bring some life into that squad as well. When young players come in, really can lift the older players as well. You've got Gavin Coombs there, who probably feels like, no matter what he does, it's not going to be good enough to get him another Ireland cap at this stage. I guess maybe the type of player he is, he doesn't suit, the way Farrell looks at his back row or wherever. But yeah, he's been in decent form over the last couple of years, but hasn't really seen much in terms of getting into the squad. So you've got plenty of options there from Munster, and then we have a look at the other provinces as well, like just the forwards again. So Rob Herring, I think he's always been kind of, I think, third or fourth choice for Ireland. But he's a player, I think he's been there, done that. And he's one of those players that I feel like has met that criteria of being outside the squad. But if you saw him having to come into the squad, you wouldn't be too disappointed. Tom O'Toole there, he's been really good at tight head, especially his work around the loose as well for Ulster. Somebody who I would have liked to have seen in the squad is Cormac Izuchukwu. I think he's a fantastic talent. And the fact that he can play second row and back row as well is a real bonus. Then you got Nick Timney's in there, but Dave McCann has looked decent beside him in the Ulster back row as well. And then if we look at some of the players from Connacht, you got Buckley, Heffernan and Ainger in their front row, all, especially I think Jack Ainger has been decent, but again, I guess the fact that he's behind Beelum means that, if somebody from Connacht is going to get picked in the squad as a tight head, it's definitely going to be Beelum, right? But he's an option there if you want to maybe bring in some new blood or wherever, you could do that. Then you got the two Murray brothers, so decent options there as well in Connacht. And then if we have a look then at the backs in the squad, so we got Bundy Aki from, let's come back to the forwards for a second. So in the forwards, 19 forwards, we have 13 of those are from Leinster. And then we have 2 each from Munster, Connacht and Ulster. So very Leinster dominated squad, which it has been in recent years as well. But again, we had a look there. There are other options at the other provinces as well who could come in and certainly, I think, perform at that level. But it's about getting those opportunities. Into the backs then, 15 backs in the squad. So you have Bundy Aki from Connacht, Caelan Blade from Connacht, Craig Casey Munster, Jack Crowley Munster, Kieran Frawley Leinster, James Gibson Park Leinster, Mac Hansen Connacht, Robbie Henshaw Leinster, James Lowe Leinster, Stuart McCluskey Ulster, Tommy O'Brien Leinster, Jamie Osborne Leinster, Sam Prendergast Leinster, Gary Ringrose Leinster and Jacob Stockdale from Ulster. So the split here a bit more even. You got 7 Leinster players, 3 from Connacht and 2 each from Munster and Ulster in the backs. And you've got Tommy O'Brien, the only player who was capped during the summer, who is in there as well. But again, we do have some players who don't have a huge amount of experience. The likes of Caelan Blade, Kieran Frawley, has 9 caps, even though it feels like he's been around for longer. Tommy O'Brien, as I said, he's got 2 caps from the summer. Sam Prendergast with 9 caps in there as well. But you got a lot of players who are over the 20 mark and all the way up to 80 odd as well in the backs. But looking at the makeup here as well, especially at 10, you're thinking, well, it's between Crowley and Prendergast for starting 10. Prendergast has had issues, last season and this season as well. And then, Kieran Frawley seems to be the kind of utility back who would kind of back up 10 when needed as well. But there's a lot of decent players in that squad, but there's decent players outside the squad. If we go through the provinces again, so if you're looking at Munster, the ones that stand out to me, Tom Farrell in the centres, Calvin Nash on the wing has been brilliant, and he's been kind of in and out of the Ireland squad. But again, it's kind of, normally it's like if Mac Hansen or somebody is injured, he'll be in there rather than, him being in better form, getting in that way. Then Mike Haley, a decent option at fullback there as well. You do have like JJ Hanrahan there at 10 as well. I don't think he's been setting the world alight since he's back in Munster, so I don't think he would be too unlucky in terms of missing out. And then if we go to Ulster and have a look at their backs, you've got Nathan Doak, who, again, I think another player like Coombs, where it feels like he doesn't fit the system that Farrell plays, because he's a really good player, but the fact that he's a kicking 9, in terms of taking the kicks from the tee and stuff, doesn't seem to suit the way that Farrell wants to play. But beside him, we got Jack Murphy there, who, has looked decent there at 10. Ulster, before really giving him a go, they've gone through a number of 10s and not really found one that could stick. But I think he's a while away from potentially getting into an Ireland squad in the future. Zach Ward, another player switched from 7s. He looks electric on the wing. But again, I think maybe he needs a bit more time to start putting his hand up for Ireland. You got Rob Balakoon, who, has all the skill in the world, but for him, I think it's about getting a run of games, really. We haven't seen, him maintain the fitness and being able to do that. And the fact that Stockdale has done that and come back to form as well, may be the reason why, Stockdale is in the Ireland squad ahead of Balakoon. Obviously, you've got Nash as well competing there, but there's no doubting his talent, and is such an elusive runner as well. I remember, I'm pretty sure he made his debut against the USA during COVID, and I was lucky enough to be at the game, and he scored a hell of a try that day as well. So really talented player. Then if we have a look then over in Connacht, so you got, Ben Murphy for me has been one of the standout 9s in Irish rugby since he's made the move to Connacht, and just that ability to always scanning what's on, going quickly, that kind of thing, and as well his ability to hit the lines he runs in support as well. He watches for the breaks, and he does a little bit of that thing that you see the likes of Dupont doing, where he'll almost anticipate a break and he'll be a little bit ahead of the player, but by the time the player breaks the line, he'll be there in the right spot to be able to be able to take advantage. You got Jack Carty there at 10, he obviously got he was there in the Ireland squad, but then he got maybe a bit too much of the blame, for me at least, in terms of what happened in the World Cup two World Cups ago in Japan. Then in the backs there as well, Cal Ford has looked really good, especially pairing with Hawkshaw at centre there as well. And again, players who could come into the squad if needed, I think. And I think there's a lot of talent kind of just sitting below that level, but a lot of them kind of finding it hard to actually just break that ceiling, as it were, and get into these Ireland squads. But an interesting thing, I think, is going to be there's no Keenan at full back, so who is going to be, who's going to kind of put their stamp on that and say, I'm the person that you want playing back there. There's plenty of options in the squad to play to that. You got Frawley, you could play back there. You got Matt Hansen could go back there as well. Tommy O'Brien, Jamie Osborne would be kind of my favourite to put back there, and then Jacob Stockdale can play back there as well. So there's plenty of options at 15. I think Jamie Osborne is the one who looks most comfortable playing there. I think the others look like specialists in other positions who are kind of playing out of position, as it were. And then like Kieran Frawley obviously can play back there, but he's looked better for me in the centres recently. He's going to find it very tough to actually get a run at centre for Ireland, given the depth that we have at centre, especially in the squad as well. But he has looked more comfortable playing 12 than last season, where he was kind of mostly 23, but coming on at 10 or fullback or wherever. But yeah, overall, I think it's a decent squad. It's going to be interesting to see, of those kind of more fringe players. So, in the backs, the likes of Caelan Blade, Frawley, Tommy O'Brien, even Stuart McCluskey, who is, an amazing centre, but he's fourth choice for Ireland, if everybody is fit. How they're going to go, how Sam Prendergast is going to go at 10 as well, because as I mentioned, he struggled. I thought, like Harry Byrne now was 10 against the Sharks, and I thought he played very well for Leinster. And I talked about after that game, if Byrne is playing better than Prendergast, does he start the big games for Leinster, or is the fact that Sam Prendergast is seen as like 1/2 with Crowley for Ireland at 10? Does that mean that he has to play the big games, like just some kind of edict there to say he's got to be in the big games? So we'll have to see, because for me with Prendergast, it's a similar situation, but not dealt with the same way as James Lowe when he came into the Ireland squad, where there were issues with James Lowe's game on defence. He was told what they were, and he was told to go away and work on it, and he did, and he came back a hell of a much better player. And it feels like to me, nobody is having those conversations with Sam Prendergast. Like when he's on it, he looks absolutely fantastic, but when the opposition get to him, it seems to affect him more than a lot of other players. Now, he is a young player, but I think one of the issues with him is, and something that he's not going to be able to fix, is a lack of pace. You don't have to be the fastest player in the world, but when you get caught out of position on defence, your tackling technique isn't great. And you've got a very noticeable lack of pace as well. Then that it just kind of all adds up on top of each other, I think. And one of the reasons I think that Harry Byrne has looked more comfortable at 10 for Leinster is because Harry Byrne has that little bit of pace. He has that break in him that Prendergast doesn't have, which means when he takes the ball to the line, the defence have to be careful not to leave the space for him to go through. Whereas with Prendergast, his pass selection, his variety of passes, his ability to pass right at the last, nanosecond are all brilliant. But for the most part, oppositions know when he's carrying the ball that the pass is coming, and they can kind of prepare a little bit more from that and potentially, cut out passes or close down the space that he's looking to go into. But, a lot of this stuff, we're going to have to see how Ireland as a squad go over these games. Obviously, they're going off to Chicago to play against New Zealand. And then, they're going to have come back to Ireland then and play their other games from there. But, as I said, it's a decent squad. But what I really want to see is the players who have like less than 10 caps, how much game time are they actually going to get? Like for me, I think, November, yes, you want to win your games, but you've got to strike a balance between, picking strong teams, but also peppering in some players who can, who can develop as well in there. So, because when you look at like the best teams in the world, over the years, so looking back at past New Zealand teams or the Springboks, or England in the past as well, France, what they're really good at doing is, identifying, young players who they can throw into these types of situations and help them to flourish. So can Ireland do that with the likes of, Ahern, etc., coming in, and with not that many caps? Can they put them in? Can you put Thomas Ahern in against New Zealand and have him flourish? I'm not too sure. I'd be surprised, honestly, if he's anywhere near the match day 23 for that game. But that's what other nations are able to do. It's something that Ireland have kind of struggled at, and we're probably going to struggle at it this November as well. We probably will see Ahern. We definitely, hopefully, will see everyone in the squad at some stage over November, and hopefully we see him, having some good moments as well for Ireland. But that's just my thoughts on the squad. Let me know what you think down in the comments.